Hi everyone, this is Yana, and today I'm sharing a card with an element that was shaped using small stamps, and you will see what I mean here in a minute. So I'm going to use a few pieces of cardstock, and I have here a card base, which is an A2 top folding card made out of some light pink cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, along with a piece of white cardstock, and this is Neenah Solar White card, which is cut to about 4 by 5 1/4 of an inch. I also have a couple of different inks from Simon Says Stamp, and notice that these are dye inks. So I have a Surf Blue, Sunshine Yellow, and Dull Pink. I will also be using this Botanical 2 stamp set from Paper Smooches, along with a couple of clear blocks to do my stamping today. To begin working on my card, I'm going to draw or to sketch a large heart on this white cardstock. I'm going to use a pencil for this. You can too sketch this by hand, or you can use a heart-shaped die or a die cut to easily trace around it and have this heart shape on your cardstock. We're going to do this so that we can use this heart as a guide and stamp inside of this shape. You can choose to use a different shape, like a simple flower or maybe a Christmas tree if you're doing a holiday card, or a circle to do a wreath. There are really lots of different options for this technique, but today I'm going to use a heart for my card. Now the important part is that you need to use dye inks for this. If you use pigment inks, you won't be able to erase the pencil lines that outline that shape that you had sketched on your paper. There's a difference in the ink properties between dye and pigment inks. Pigment dry on top of the paper, covering up the pencil lines, so that when you start erasing the pencil lines, depending on the manufacturer of the pigment ink, you will also be erasing the ink, and you really won't be able to erase the ink or the pencil lines completely. You will end up having a smeared look. Dye ink, on the contrary, goes inside the paper, leaving the pencil lines on top, making it really easy to erase them. So just to sum up, use dye ink when stamping on top of the pencil line so that you will be able to erase them. Now I'm going to pick a few stamps from this Botanical 2 stamp set from Paper Smooches, and I only want to use smaller images so that I can fit them inside of my shape. What I also find helpful when working on projects like this is having a cheat sheet or a pre-stamped guide. So here I have this heart stamped in black, and I will be using the same stamp placement as I have on my guide, but I will be using different or various colors of ink instead of just using black. So I'm going to start with larger image, and I will start at the bottom of the heart and will work my way up. I'm going to use the Surf Blue ink for this image, and notice that I will stick with the same color of ink for the same image or the same stamp. So whenever I stamp this image again, I will be using the same Surf Blue ink. Now, the great part about this technique is that I don't have to be 100% precise about my stamping. If I have too much space in between the stamped images, I can always come back later with a smaller image or smaller images, and this set has some smaller images, some great smaller images. There are some small flowers and a few leaves too, and I can fill in those blanks on my stamping. I'm going to stamp an outline first and then fill in the inside of the heart. I'm using only 3 colors of ink, and like I said before, one image is going to be stamped in one color of ink only. So say if I start stamping this image in yellow, I will continue using this yellow ink throughout the entire heart. I think this helps to make my stamping a little bit more uniformed and a little bit more pretty. Now, because I only have 3 colors of ink, and you can use more if you want, but I wanted to use just 3. And because I have more than 3 stamps selected, some images are going to be stamped in the same color. So the first half of my heart outline is done, and now I'm moving on to the second part. I'm using a new image and thus a new color of ink. And notice how much color and interest this adds to my stamping. Now back to yellow, and then back to Surf Blue again. And finally, for the last image for my outline, I'm using pink, the dull pink color again. So the outline of my image is done, and I can now move on to stamping on the inside. I'm still using the same larger images or larger stamps that I used for the outline, and I'm sticking to the same colors of ink. And some of my images do overlap just a bit, And it's okay, although I wasn't really planning on doing any overlapping, I don't mind having having that overlapped look, having small parts of the stamped images overlap just a teeny tiny bit. Okay, so I think I'm done with the larger images. Now it's time to use the smaller flowers and leaves to fill in those blanks. So I'm going to start with this larger flower and stamp it in pink. And by filling in the blanks with the smaller images, I can also try to balance the colors in my stamping. If you notice, I have lots of blues, but maybe not enough pink and yellow. So I'm going to use pink and yellow for the smaller images, and this way I'm going to try to balance my stamping. And also notice that I'm not using my guide anymore. I'm simply using the smaller images to fill in the blanks that I have on my stamped heart. Okay, so now that my heart is complete, I can use a pencil eraser and erase all these pencil lines on my paper. I just need to make sure that the ink is dry so that I don't smear any of my stamping. But dye inks typically dry very fast, so really I don't have to wait any long for this. And now I can add some white twine to my card, and I want to wrap it around a few times and tie it into a large bow. I also want to add a sentiment to complete my card, but I don't want to stamp anything else. So I'm going to use this wood veneer Love die cut piece instead. It's from Teresa Collins, and I think it's from the Save the Date collection. I like that it's nice and long and kind of like, I guess, bold. It covers the entire front stamped panel of my card. I didn't want this wood veneer piece to look lonely on my card, so I decided to add a few more wooden elements. So here I have these small wood veneer stars from Studio Calico, and they come in sizes, in 3 different sizes, and they look great on just about any project. So I'm going to use a couple of stars here and there. I'm also going to add a few sequins and enamel dots. Now this part usually takes me forever to complete. I constantly change the placement of the elements that I'm going to use, so I typically just turn off my camera, place my elements where I like them, and then turn the camera back on and show you the finished result. So now that all of my elements are placed on my card, it's time to adhere them down. And I'm going to use some Collodion Helmet Multi-Matte Medium. It's a really nice adhesive that I usually use to adhere small elements. And I'm also going to use this Crystal Katana tool. I got it as a sample from CHA, and I found that it works really great for picking up small pieces. It's actually meant for gems, but I find it to be very helpful when picking up sequins as well. So now it's time to adhere my stamped element to my card front. And because I have some dimensional elements on my stamped background, I'm actually going to add double-sided adhesive to my card base instead of my stamped background. I usually do it vice versa, but because I have a lot of elements there, I'm adding adhesive to my card base. And one final touch that I did, I looped that twine that I had down in the bottom there, and I added an enamel dot on top of it just to make it stay in place. I actually added some glue down there too, but I placed an enamel dot on top. So this finishes up my card for today. I hope you enjoyed. I think it gives me such a nice countryside look and feel. It has lots of colorful blooms, and it has some wood veneer elements. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something new. And if you did, please click that like button. Maybe drop me a comment, and please be so kind to share this video with your crafty friends. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.